The Seattle Seahawks just changed the tone of the season, and nobody saw it coming this fast. The offense did not just move, it pressed on the gas and kept it there. Drives felt heavy, the line kept its push, and the back slipped through space that was not there a week ago. The first punch came from the ground, the second from a clean play-action strike, and the message was simple: this is a new gear. But here's the twist: the calm center of it all was Sam Darnold. No rush, no panic, just quick reads and throws that landed where only his guy could touch them. Jackson Smith and Jigba pulled coverage without begging for targets. Rashid Shaheed forced safeties to turn and run, and the run lanes got wider with each snap. What nobody is talking about is how the offense looked patient and dangerous at the same time, like it knew the answer before the defense asked the question. The shocking part is how repeatable this looks. If Seattle can keep this shape, a balanced run that sets the table, and a quarterback who wins on third down, the next opponent has a real problem. The real story sits underneath the highlight plays, why the ground game suddenly travels, and why it could tilt the matchup at SoFi. Let us pull that thread and find the engine that made the whole thing click. But before we talk about that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Seahawks and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 200 likes on this video. The Seattle Seahawks found a new switch in the trenches, and it changed the feel of every snap. Double teams rolled defenders off the spot, cutback lanes opened like doors, and the backs hit daylight with calm feet, then sudden burst. This was not a one-drive spark, it was a steady drumbeat that bent the game to Seattle's pace. Kenneth Walker set the rhythm with sharp presses and clean exits. Zach Charbonnet turned contact into yards after contact, and George Holani finished drives with purpose. When the right edge started to pop, the box softened and the linebackers had to guess. By the end, Seattle stacked chain-moving runs until the defense wore down and the clock tilted. Wrap it this way: Seattle cleared 200 rushing yards, and it never felt forced. Here is why that matters next. A run threat that lives on both edges forces safeties to widen and corners to honor play fakes. One speed piece can stretch the roof, and one smart route runner can bend coverage rules without high volume. Keep that picture in mind, because the next layer is the space makers who tilt the field before the ball is even snapped. The Seattle Seahawks turned the field into a puzzle the defense could not solve. Put Rashid Shaheed wide and corners give ground. Bring him in motion and safeties start to drift. The snap hits and you see the ripple. Linebackers hesitate, the alley widens, and one simple route turns into yards before anyone lands a hand. Jackson Smith and Jigba is the quiet breaker of rules. He sells inside, snaps out, and the marker moves like clockwork. When Shaheed presses vertical, JSN owns the middle. When Shaheed flashes across the formation, JSN sits where zones crack open. It is not volume, it is timing and leverage. One threatens the roof, the other steals the empty chair underneath, and the chains move without a fight. Here is why that changes games. Defenses stretch to cover the speed, and the quick wins keep stacking. Corners run, safeties backpedal, and the front seven loses help. That is when everything flips. Seattle controls pace on offense, and the defense gets fresh legs and a green light. 2 snaps later, the scoreboard swings without the offense even on the grass. Now we get to the part nobody expected, the sequence that turned stops into points. The Seattle Seahawks flipped the game with a surge that felt like a trapdoor opening under the Cardinals. It was not just a stop on third down, it was the ball changing hands and the scoreboard moving before the offense even sat down. One rush collapses the pocket, the hit lands clean, the ball spills, and the stadium mood turns in a single heartbeat. Tyrese Knight brought the first shock with speed to the spot and perfect hands at the ball. DeMarcus Lawrence finished the chaos with hustle, vision, and calm feet through traffic. That pairing turned pressure into points, not once, but again. And it sent a message that this defense is hunting the ball, not only the tackle. When your edge and your second level read the same picture, field position becomes a gift and confidence spreads. Here is what that means for the next challenge. A defense that scores will change how the Rams call protections and how they pace early downs. Seattle can lean into takeaways, shorten the field for the offense, and keep legs fresh without forcing volume snaps. That is where the quiet advantages start to matter: rotation choices, snap counts, and the depth pieces that keep this engine hot into the final month. The Seattle Seahawks used the blowout to bank real value that does not show up on highlight reels. Coaches trimmed snaps for key playmakers, the line rolled fresh bodies, and depth players logged live reps without stress. That kind of control gives you a calmer week, sharper legs, and cleaner installs for a physical trip to SoFi. It also builds trust across the roster, because more hands touched the plan and felt it work. Availability always shapes November football, and Seattle handled it with clear intent. Jake Bobo sat, Torrey Horton sat, Christian Haynes sat, Josh Jobe sat, Derek Young sat, Jaron Reed moved to injured reserve, Julian Love stayed on injured reserve. A.J. Barner gave them useful downs. And the staff kept Jackson Smith and Jigba on a smart pitch count after contact early. Special teams added a quiet boost. The kicker set a franchise record for field goals made, which turns tight drives into points you can count on. This is the part that tips close games. Rotation keeps the defense raging through fourth quarters, managed snaps keep the offense fast without forcing risks, and a steady leg turns field position into real leads. That sets the stage for the most important piece: a quarterback who can steer all of this without noise. Now we zoom in on Sam Darnold and why his approach raises the floor while the ceiling climbs. Sam Darnold turned a loud game into quiet control. He took the snap, set his feet, and found answers fast. Third downs did not feel like coin flips. He placed throws where only his target could finish, and he did it with pace. The line trusted the timing. The backs trusted the checks. The result read simple on paper: 10 for 12. But on the field, it looked like a veteran guiding the whole tempo. The risky plays you fear never showed up by choice. A tip ball or a blindside hit can happen to any quarterback when traffic gets messy. What matters is the mind behind the next snap. He kept his eyes level, adjusted protections, and hit rhythm routes that punish soft space without forcing anything. That steadiness let Jackson Smith and Jigba win inside leverage, let Rashid Shaheed pull coverage deep, and kept the run game free of stacked bodies. Now the lens shifts to SoFi and a defense that loves disguise. This is where calm pre-snap beats noise post-snap. If Darnold keeps the cadence sharp, trusts the first clean window, and leans on quick answers, Seattle can own the pace again. The question is not only how the Seahawks play, it is how the Rams must react when they cannot guess run or pass. That is the board we are about to study, and it changes the stakes for the whole NFC race. The Seattle Seahawks walk into SoFi with the lights hot and the margin thin. The Los Angeles Rams look like a complete group, and Seattle looks like a team that just found its true pace. This is not a soft week. It is a test of what holds when the crowd gets loud and the game gets tight. Nobody is saying season on the line, but everyone can feel how much this night can move the race. The matchup turns on clean answers versus disguise. The Rams love to spin the picture after the snap. Seattle answers with quick rhythm, a patient ground game, and a rush that forces hurried throws. Field position will matter because both sides finish drives well. Across the conference, the Lions keep stacking wins, and the Dolphins keep landing heavy shots. To stand with them, Seattle needs control early and composure late. Here is the tension that pulls us forward. If Seattle keeps the tempo, protects the ball, and lands the first body shot, the Rams will have to chase. That is where small choices become big edges. Which rotations stay on the field? Which calls you trust on third and short? Which closer you lean on when the fourth quarter arrives? Hold that thought, because the lasting edge is not a trick. It is a simple plan you do not walk away from now. The Seattle Seahawks have unlocked a simple plan that turns pressure into control. Start fast on the ground, keep the picture clean for the quarterback, stretch the field with real speed, and let a hungry defense change the math. Finishing kicks turn close moments into points you can bank. It is not flashy. It is ruthless in the best way. Lock in the choices that make it real. Keep building the right edge so the cutback lives. Give Tyrese Knight a bigger slice when the game tilts into chaos. Feed Rashid Shaheed in motion to pull eyes and open lanes. Treat Jackson Smith and Jigba as the read that decides coverage before the snap. Trust your kicker when the drive stalls so the scoreboard keeps moving in your favor. That is how habits become wins in late season weeks. Now comes the test of discipline. Will Seattle stay with this shape when the crowd swells and the Rams spin the picture? Which lever do they pull first if the game tightens? More night, more Shaheed, or more heavy zone? Hold that question, because the next breakdown shows the exact calls that punish the first Rams adjustment and why one early choice might tilt the night.